Food. It's one of those things we literally can't live without. But not everything you put in your mouth is what you think it is. From common misconceptions and misunderstandings to companies that have cleverly misled consumers for years, it's time to take a look at some of the things you eat that are a lie. Nuts. What's your favorite nut? Personally, I'm a fan of the peanut, mainly in butter form. But did you know there's actually no butter in peanut butter? Wait, you all knew that already? Okay, well, I didn't know. It's just made from ground, dry roasted peanuts, though different varieties add sugars, salts, and oils to modify the texture and flavor. But did you know there's also no nuts in peanut butter? That's right, despite the name, peanuts aren't actually nuts. They're technically the seeds of a legume crop like chickpeas, soybeans, and peas. Hence the name, peanuts. And they're not the only imposters in the nut butter world. How many of you like cashew nut or almond nut butter? Yep, you guessed it. Neither of those are nuts either. Both of these are the fruit seeds of their respective plants, meaning they're technically drupes, not nuts. So what are real nuts, I hear you cry? Botanically speaking, nuts are a particular kind of dry fruit that has a single seed, a hard shell, and a protective husk, like acorns, chestnuts, hazelnuts, and... Wait a hot second, back up there. Nuts are fruits? Oh my god, I don't know which way is up anymore. We all scream for ice. Milk? If you've ever been to Dairy Queen, the American fast food chain specializing in ice cream, you'll know their soft serve is second to none. The iconic shape this ice cream comes out in really adds to the flavor. Except this isn't ice cream. Yeah, I know I said that Dairy Queen specializes in ice cream, but legally, their soft serve isn't ice cream. For it to be ice cream according to the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, a product must have at least a 10% butterfat content. Dairy Queen soft serve has only 5%, which makes it ice milk. So while it looks like ice cream legally, they can't call it that, and so settled on the ambiguous sounding soft serve instead. Certainly sounds better than ice milk, that's for sure. Shake it up. Ooh, I love milkshakes. So tasty and refreshing. And in my opinion, nowhere does better milkshakes than McDonald's. At least I thought they did milkshakes, because if you hop over to any American McDonald's fast food franchise, its milkshakes are just called shakes. No milk mentioned at any point, but over in the UK they are called milkshakes. Huh. So what's the deal, America? It turns out it's all to do with state milk regulations. In Connecticut, rules state a milkshake must contain at least 3.25% milk fat. In Dakota, that's 2%, while New York has a totally different classification system separating dairy shakes and freezer-made milkshakes. That's complicated. So to keep it simple, McDonald's call their American milkshakes, which do technically contain milk from the soft serve ice cream they use to make them, shakes. All just to avoid any legal trouble. Well, that's one way to shake things up. Big Blue Lie. What's your favorite sweet food flavor? For me, it's blueberry. Blueberry pancakes, blueberry muffins, blueberry cereal. Put a picture of a blueberry on the box, I'll buy it. Or at least I used to buy it until I learned what I'm about to tell you now. Back in 2011, an investigation into fruit flavors revealed that despite using pictures of fresh fruit on some processed food packaging, no real fruit was listed in the ingredients or found in the product at all. Jiffy Blueberry Muffin Mix, for example, cleverly states it has blueberry flavored bits, but there's no blueberry listed in their ingredients. Quaker's Blueberries and Cream Porridge Mix also doesn't mention blueberry, or any fruit for that matter, in the ingredients. Just some vague sounding natural and artificial flavorings. And Kellogg's Blueberry Muffin Mini Wheat Cereal, which boasts a bowl having the delicious flavors of blueberry, hasn't ever seen a blueberry in its life, let alone contains any. So, what are the little blue bits you find in these products that you're led to believe are blueberries? Disappointingly, they're just lumps of sugars, starches, and food dye. So read the ingredients list carefully on anything with blueberries on the packet to, ironically, avoid feeling blue about your purchase. Salmon struggle. Salmon, king of the fish. In terms of taste, at least, the distinctive pink hue of its flesh looks incredibly appetizing when cooked, smoked, or even when eaten raw. It's so distinctive, it's even got a color named after it, salmon pink. So would now be a bad time to mention that salmon isn't actually pink? Okay, wild salmon is, but that's because their diet includes astaxanthin, a reddish compound found in krill and shrimp. But farm salmon, the kind that's bred and raised to be sold and eaten on a mass scale, eat kibble. This kibble can include things like the oil and flesh of smaller fish, corn gluten, ground up feathers, soybeans, chicken fat, genetically engineered yeast? No expensive krill or shrimp, that's for sure. As such, farmed salmon flesh is gray. Farmers add synthetic astaxanthin, which can make up to 20% of the food's price, to the kibble to give the fish the pink color we love, though it's nothing compared to the vibrant red of wild salmon. Apparently, the people only want pink salmon, even if there's something fishy about it. Cheese Louise. There's nothing like making a big, juicy burger and then laying a slice of American cheese on top of that patty. For many people, the glistening, melty, gooey, bright orange cheese single just makes a meal like this so darn good. But as good as it tastes, this, the classic Kraft American single, ain't cheese. In America, in order for a product to be legally classed as a cheese by the FDA, a food product has to be made of more than half cheese, which is pressed curds of milk. But Kraft singles are less than 51% cheese, which is why you'll see on the package they're called a pasteurized prepared cheese product. So if less than half is cheese, what's the rest? The ingredients list a lot of milk products like skim milk, milk fat, and milk protein concentrates. That doesn't sound too bad, right? However, milk protein concentrates are not an ingredient that can be used in products that purport to be cheese food, according to the FDA. This caused Kraft an issue back in 2002 when they were calling their singles pasteurized prepared cheese food, and the FDA found out. They told them they could not class Kraft singles as a cheese food, and so Kraft relented and renamed them as a cheese product. Just so we're clear, not only are Kraft singles not technically a cheese, they're not even technically a food. No wonder my mother always told me they were made of plastic. Carrot conspiracy. Alright, you're a smart cookie. Maybe you can help me out with something. I'm going to show you some pictures and you're going to tell me down in the comments below which of these are and which of these aren't carrots. Yes, I'm aware I don't sound very sane right now, but trust me, this is going somewhere. Are you ready? Okay, number 1. Is this a carrot? How about this? Number 2. Is this a carrot? And this? Number 3. Is this a carrot? Take a look at these guys. Number 4. Are they carrots? Okay, and finally, the weirdest one of all, this. Number 5. Is this a carrot? Alright, you got all your answers down there? Good. Which of these did you say wasn't a carrot? Number 3? Maybe number 4 and 5 as well, right? Well, they're all carrots. Yeah, sounds like some low-tier April Fool's prank, but as much as these different colored carrots look like freak genetic mutations, actually, orange carrots are technically the anomalies. Back some 5,000 years ago, wild carrots were white or yellow, as most plant roots and root vegetables are. As people on the Persian Plateau began to cultivate them, though, different colored mutations and variants began to emerge and purple carrots became the norm. Domestic carrots were then cultivated and the yellow began to mutate more orange variants, which farmers selectively planted. There's a rumor that this selectivity was done to honor Dutch hero William of Orange, but there are no historical records to support this. Nevertheless, it turns out carrots aren't just orange. Aren't you glad I told you that? Hunting for truthfuls. The truth hurts. Canned food doesn't last forever. It all has an expiration date. The fresh cakes you buy from Walmart weren't baked on site. They arrive at the store frozen and are thawed out. And if you're one of those people that love the taste of your pungent, precious truffle-infused oil, no you don't. Not really. The truffle oil that fancy folk claim makes their truffle fries, truffle burgers, and truffle pizza taste 1,000 times better isn't made with truffles. Truffles are the edible spores that grow on an underground fungus near the roots of certain oak trees. Because they grow underground, farmers use specially trained pigs and dogs to sniff them out. This is a time-consuming, labor-intensive process that means a single ounce of fresh black truffles sells for at least $70. So what exactly is in the $30 bottle of truffle oil you just bought? Definitely not an ounce of truffles, that's for sure. In fact, it's 2.4 dithiapentane. Bit of a mouthful, but you can find it on the ingredients list under artificial truffle flavor or black truffle aroma. It's an aromatic molecule that gives truffles their distinctive smell, and companies have no problem creating it in a lab, mixing it into oil, and calling the resulting product truffle oil. The flavor is a close approximation and overpowers any trace of real truffles in the oil, if it even includes it in the first place. So the next time you hear someone claiming they just love the taste of truffle oil, ask them how their dithiapentane tastes. Bacon Station. It's time for a controversial take, a hot take if you will. A take that may get me canceled, but here I go. Salad is bull. There, I said it. If there are any salad fans watching, sorry not sorry. A bunch of leaves and veggies in a bowl is not a meal. And not even the endless amount of stock images of women laughing at their basic-ass salads can convince me otherwise. Seriously, why are there so many? Anyway, you know what can turn me around on a salad? Bacon bits. These little crunchy nuggets of bacon flavor can make me a fan of just about any food they're sprinkled on. Salad, potatoes, soup. It's funny how the taste of meat makes trying to eat vegetables more appetizing to me. But you know what's funnier? The fact that many processed bacon bits, crumbles, pieces, salts, rubs, flavors, whatever you want to call them, are vegan. No joke. The American family favorite brand McCormick's Bacon Pieces advertises a great bacon flavor, though the chips themselves are made from textured soy flour. The flavor is completely artificial with no animal products in the bottle whatsoever. J&D's bacon salt even has vegan printed on the top of it. Mike sells smoky bacon chips, Kettle Brand's maple bacon chips, and even 7-Eleven's maple bacon chips are also vegan. It turns out the salty, smoky, savory bacon flavor can be created artificially in a way that doesn't include animal products and makes sense for some manufacturers' bottom line. But keep in mind, not all bacon-flavored items are vegan, so if there are any vegans watching who are sinfully craving the taste of bacon, you should still double-check the ingredients list. You don't want to get caught by the vegan police.
So I wasn't vegan. It's milk and egg.
Vegan. Speaking of the vegan police, right now, veganism is a big business. From soaring meat costs and social media vegan trends to more people being aware about the effects of their diet on the planet, there's been a huge uptick in people buying vegan alternative food products. By 2028, it's expected that the vegan food market will be worth $31 billion. That's more than double what it is now, and the suits upstairs have taken notice with more meat, dairy, and vegan-friendly alternatives than ever before lining grocery store shelves. Capitalism loves a trend. The only problem is capitalism loves its bottom line more than the moral or ethical reasoning behind it. How do I know that? Because in July 2023, inspectors conducting routine examinations around the UK revealed that an absurd 90% of all products they assessed that were marked as vegan actually contained traces of animal products. These included vegan alternatives for chocolate truffles, pizzas, burgers, muffins, wraps, and more. How? Well, the factories where grocery store food is processed, packaged, and made often have hundreds of different products run through the same lines. And because it would be really expensive to create a separate facility specifically for all the vegan stuff, the vegan products are often processed in the same facilities the non-vegan stuff is, leading to cross-contamination. You can almost understand. What I can understand is how inspectors discovered a whole third of these vegan foods were actually just straight up made with animal products and had been misrepresented on the label. A third! Yeah, the vegans among us are probably battling some pretty severe trust issues right about now. But here's what's worse. These misleading labels can and have killed people. Those with severe allergic reactions to things like milk proteins have consumed supposedly vegan products and not lived to finish the rest of their sandwich. I really wish that was a joke. So whether or not you're vegan, I think we can all agree that we all need to know exactly what's in our food. Pumpkin lie. Oh my god, put me in Ugg boots and call me Karen, because pumpkin season, it's my absolute fave. There's just something about these big orange vegetables? No, that's not right. Fruits? That doesn't feel right either. What is a pumpkin exactly? Okay, well, botanically, a pumpkin is the fleshy, ripened ovary of a plant that has the plant seeds enclosed within. So technically, a pumpkin is a berry? Okay, well, I guess that's not entirely surprising. We do make pumpkin pie out of these big orange fruits after all. I mean, some of us have. Unless you've pureed the pumpkin from one of these yourself, the answer is actually probably no, you haven't. Most recipes for pumpkin pie call for a can of the pureed stuff. Now, Americans know exactly what these cans look like. They probably have a can left over from Thanksgiving last year. But for the rest of the world, they look like some variation of this. Now, they all say pumpkin on the label and pumpkin in the ingredients. But these cans are actually full of squash. Squash are, botanically speaking, fruits that are part of the same family as pumpkins. But while all pumpkins are technically squash, not all squash are technically pumpkins. However, the FDA refuses to draw a hard line between the two, which is handy for pumpkin puree sellers. Because the flesh of the big orange jack-o'-lantern pumpkins contain a lot of water, stringy fibers, and have a low natural sweetness, that's not great for pie. Its cousin, on the other hand, which is the comparatively boring beige Dickinson squash, has all the qualities producers want that the orange guys don't have. As a result, 85% of the canned quote-unquote pumpkin sold in the United States is actually the old Dickinson squash. And with that, pumpkin pie is ruined forever. White lie. What's your favorite type of chocolate? I'm a milk chocolate fan myself, but I'm also partial to some smooth dark chocolate and sweet white chocolate too. But why does it taste so good regardless of its color? Well, that's all down to how it's made. To make chocolate, cocoa beans are fermented, dried, roasted, and then ground down. Crushing the beans separates out the cocoa solids, which provide the chocolate its flavor, from the cocoa butter, which is responsible for its silkiness and texture. As you've guessed, dark chocolate contains more cocoa solids, whereas white chocolate doesn't contain any cocoa solids. It's made by combining the cocoa butter with milk solids instead. So considering cocoa solids are what gives chocolate its flavor, technically this means white chocolate isn't really chocolate. Most major chocolatiers don't consider it a real chocolate at all. In fact, without the milk solids, it's not even white. Cocoa butter is actually yellow. So the higher quality of white chocolate you get, that's the stuff with more cocoa butter in it and less sugar and flavorings, the more yellow it looks. Still, it tastes pretty great, so even if it isn't real chocolate, it's still real to me, damn it. Europe says no. The most acclaimed chocolatiers can be found in Switzerland, Belgium, Italy, France, the UK, and the United States. But what's labeled as chocolate in America, shockingly, isn't over the pond. In Europe, the general rule is food claiming to be chocolate must contain more than 20% cocoa solids. This is why a standard Dutch bar like Tony's Choco Lonely has 32% cocoa solids. An Italian company Ferrero's chocolates like Kinder all have milk chocolate that contains a minimum of 32% cocoa solids. But in contrast, an American Hershey's bar only has 11%, because in the US the cocoa solid minimum for a food to be classed as a chocolate is only 10%. So in Europe, the American stuff technically ain't chocolate. But that's not the only thing Europeans like to complain about. According to them, American Hershey's candy tastes like puke. And I hate to say it, but they're not wrong. Hershey's chocolate has a distinctly sour flavor compared to its European counterparts, theorized to be because of the presence of butyric acid, which comes from the milk that's used. Now, all milk contains this acid, but American milk undergoes lipolysis to make it shelf-stable, a process that also produces more butyric acid. It has a tangy, acrid aftertaste and is the same stuff that gives vomit its signature smell. So it has fewer cocoa solids and more vomit acid, but I still kinda like it. Do you? Let me know down in the comments. Oh, live a little. A drizzle of olive oil makes just about everything taste better. But what is olive oil? Simply put, it's the juice pressed from olives. That's it. No chemicals, no extracts, no further processing. At this level of purity, it's classified as extra virgin, the highest quality and most expensive olive oil there is. The status is so revered, it has to pass a lab analysis and sensory test set by, I can't believe this is real, the International Olive Council. These guys are based in Madrid, but between the oil leaving Madrid and arriving in the production country to be bottled and sold, there's plenty of room for deception. At best, olive oil from other places is blended in. At worst, soybean or seed oil is used to bulk up the oil's volume while diluting its quality to the point where it can barely be called olive oil. Back in 2016, it was reported that around 80% of the olive oil available to consumers was so badly diluted it was considered fake. So it's more than likely that the bottle of olive oil you have sitting in your kitchen claiming innocently to be extra virgin is probably extra promiscuous. Hey, pesto! No greater budget meal exists on this plane of existence than good old pesto pasta. Cook pasta, drain pasta, add liberal amount of cheap store-bought pesto, stir, and heaven. I can hear the Italian contingent shrieking at me for using store-bought pesto. After all, this ground basil, Parmesan cheese, pine nuts, olive oil, and garlic sauce is a cornerstone of authentic Italian cuisine. The store-bought stuff can't do the real deal justice, especially if it's been bought in the UK. Why the UK? Well, back in 2018, an investigation into supermarket-owned brand pesto found that instead of those previously listed traditional ingredients, these grocery stores were using cheaper alternatives. Sunflower oil, nut flour, potato flakes, and even bamboo fibers were being used to make their sauces. Heresia! That's Italian for heresy! Ultimately, because it doesn't stick to, the ingredients, this is not what any Italian would call pesto. They'd call it an abomination. Cooped up. Are you one of those people who buys eggs labeled cage-free and imagines the chickens all happily strutting about in lush green fields, living their best lives, popping out eggs without a care in the world? Certainly it's a world apart from the battery farm some poor chickens are confined to, isn't it? Where they're all cruelly cooped up, never let out, and only get released when they stop producing eggs or die? Yeah, well, actually, no. While cage-free does mean no cages, it doesn't mean outdoor freedom. In the U.S., regulations state each cage-free bird must get at least 1 square foot or 144 square inches of ground space. This is space enough to walk, lay their eggs in nests, and flap their wings without hitting other birds. That sounds reasonable until you learn battery-raised birds have 67 square inches of space. So what cage-free really means is just over double the absolute minimum amount of space. And the space itself is usually in large crammed indoor coops. No grass, no outdoors, nothing I imagine when I think cage-free, that's for sure. Use your noodle. Now I'm about to make yet another very controversial statement. Hot take time. Food is gender neutral. Yep, food isn't made for any one gender in particular. Food is just food. Food advertising, on the other hand, hoo boy. According to the people behind most marketing campaigns, only women eat yogurt and only men eat meat. A prime example of this is pot noodle, a pretty standard instant noodle snack that historically marketed itself as just for men. They've got beef and tomato, piri-piri chicken, sticky rib, and many other meaty combinations. There's just one thing though. While they pride themselves on being a masculine meaty mouthful, those 3 pot noodles are vegan. Yeah, quite strange for a snack marketed brazenly after their meaty flavor, isn't it? They're even endorsed by PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. That's how vegan-friendly they are. Wanna know what's weirder? All pot noodles are vegetarian. Chicken and mushroom, doner kebab, chicken korma, barbecue pulled pork, totally safe for plant-fueled folk. So for all their dirty, meaty advertising, these snacks couldn't be kinder to animals and the environment if they tried. I'd argue that's actually pretty manly. Twinkie Twubble. Twinkies are a classic American snack cake with a golden sponge and white cream filling that have become world famous thanks to their features in movies such as Ghostbusters and Zombieland. But these cream cakes have been hiding a secret. Well, not exactly hiding, they've printed it on the front of the box. Do you see it? Let me zoom in a bit further, right there. Does that say cream? No, it says creamy. Yeah, there ain't no real cream in this here cream log. Okay, well, to be fair, it's not exactly like Twinkies are renowned for their use of natural ingredients. The main component of the little log is just straight up sugar alongside bleached flour, high fructose corn syrup, chemical preservatives, and artificial flavors and colors that help give the spongy cake its signature texture and taste. The cream itself, unsurprisingly, more sugar that's been mixed with vegetable oil, corn syrup, and cellulose gum. Combined, this gives the quote-unquote cream that slick, shiny, almost fresh appearance long after it's been packaged. Knowing it's not cream has me somewhat torn. Is it still iconic? Definitely. Do I see all Twinkies as diabetes flavored now? Also, yeah, for sure. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Alright, genuine question. What's your favorite cereal? Type it down in the comments below, cause I want to see what the general consensus is. You ready for mine? It's Captain Crunch. Introduced way back in 1963, this American corn and oat cereal comes in a bunch of artificial flavors that, in my opinion, taste like nostalgia and Saturday morning cartoons. I remember being a kid and reading the adventures of Captain Horatio Magellan Crunch from the back of the box. He's a sea captain always in search of adventure on his ship, the SS Guppy. Man, this guy has more lore than your standard anime character. But hang on. Computer. Enhance. 3 stripes. That's weird. In the US Navy, the stripes on a uniform indicate the rank of a person. But 3 stripes isn't a captain. 4 stripes is. 3 stripes means first officer, or second in command. So he's not a real captain? Well, I mean, obviously, the man only exists on a cereal box. But no, there must be some mistake. Let's look at an earlier character design like this one from a commercial back in 1983. That'll clear it. Oh my god, there's only 2 stripes. Okay, let's go back further to 1963. That's where we'll find the true 1 stripe. That's just an ensign. Well, I guess he's working his way up the ranks. I mean, Ensign Crunch doesn't have quite the same ring to it. Tuna fish fraud. For any sushi fans watching, what are your thoughts on Shiro Maguro? Not familiar? Maybe you know its English name, white meat tuna or white tuna. I can see a few of you nodding now. It's got a mild, clean flavor, very different to the reddish pink of bluefin tuna. White tuna comes from albacore, a smaller species of tuna fish, and its meat is particularly popular across the USA. However, a multi-year study by researchers published back in 2017 revealed sushi joints in the US that claimed to be serving white tuna weren't always being truthful. They discovered that a staggering 84% of the samples they took from a variety of restaurants saw escolar, a type of oil fish that's cheaper compared to tuna, was being used in its place. The pale white color, similar texture, and taste made this easy for restaurants to conceal from customers for years, despite albacore being the only fish legally marketable as white tuna in the USA. Some of you may be thinking this ain't that much of a big deal. Fish is fish, right? Here's the thing. Escolar can cause, let's say, some pretty unpleasant gastrointestinal issues due to its high oil content. So if you order the white tuna, be sure to clarify whether it's albacore or escolar, unless you want to spend more time in the bathroom than at your table. What wasabi? Another thing many sushi lovers enjoy is the refreshingly spicy taste of wasabi. This great green paste is made from the root of Japanese horseradish, a plant known as Wasabia japonica or Utrema japonicum. Because it needs very specific conditions to grow, it's an incredibly difficult and expensive plant to cultivate. As such, it can cost between $70 and $150 per pound when sold wholesale. But in America, I've never been charged for wasabi at a restaurant or had to buy extra wasabi for a sushi box lunch to my knowledge. So, how do people providing this make back that money? The answer is they don't need to, because this isn't wasabi. Shockingly, up to 90% of the wasabi that Americans eat is fake. It's even referred to as Western wasabi in Japan. Instead of using Japanese horseradish, this stuff is a mixture of powdered European horseradish, hot mustard, sweeteners, and green food coloring. This is then pureed to give it that green paste consistency instead of the grated root consistency real wasabi has. Good to know the wasabi I've been enjoying all these years has actually been flavored with lies. How do you like them apples? There's something about biting into an apple that's just unparalleled. The crisp texture, the sweet juice, the fresh taste, oh. Except if you bought that apple from a grocery store, it might not be as fresh as you think. Generally, apples are only harvested once a year in line with their natural growing cycle, from August to November. That means if you're biting into an apple in May, that apple could actually be 10 months old. How? Well, grocers refrigerate apples depending on how long they need them to last. Apples sold before December go into refrigeration, whereas apples for sale past December are stored in a kind of stasis, a refrigerated low-oxygen environment until it's time to sell them. This preserves them perfectly, but knowing these fruits might be almost a year old kinda puts me off them a little. Baby cutback. I'm a man who loves a dip, and a food with which to dip. And after extensive research I've undertaken myself, I can safely say there ain't no dipping food like baby carrots. Adorably tiny, crunchy, and tasty, it's a true wonder how they grow veggies this well developed and small. Except it turns out my naivety and insatiable need for dips has made a fool of me all these years. While baby carrots are a type of carrot that's harvested before reaching maturity, they grow in inconsistent sizes and shapes and aren't usually what you buy when planning a dip fest. No, we buy baby cut carrots. These are just normal sized carrots cut down roughly into 2-inch pieces. In the grand scheme of things, I know this isn't the end of the world, but why does it feel like such a betrayal? Oh baby, tell me it ain't so. Which of these food lies gave you the most trust issues? And what others do you know that I didn't cover here? Let me know down in the comments below, and thanks for watching.